Hello guys, today I show you this video that is a work I did tattoo on a customer of mine. This represents my first tattoo giveaway I did last December 2017. It's a Hannya mask that I have previously drawn, and then when I showed to the customer, he was really happy about it and he decided to get this tattoo. In this video you could see briefly the way I work, the elements I consider while working, like the choice of the color, and during the process the line I use and the areas I start from, and also the technique I use to color this tattoo. When I paint and draw or tattoo, I am right-handed, and for this reason I prefer work from right below and move across to left, just to make sure I won't smear the stencil. But there are many artists that start from top to bottom, so it depends on you and depends how you prefer to work. Speaking about the style of the subject, I can say that it could be a sort of new school style tattoo rather than traditional. The traditional tattoo usually has a big line for the contour and small details in the inside, sometimes alternated with a thin line. New school instead usually alternate a strong thick line, black, for the contour and softening in the inside. It is a sort of dynamic line that goes from thick to thin black line, from dark to light color line. This helps the drawing or the main subject to pop up from the background. Now I'm using a 7 round liner to fix on skin the drawing. It is not that big, but it helps me to be quite precise, and in case I need to thicker the line, I prefer to double it when almost finishing my tattoo, instead of regret a too bigger line that I can't erase. When I draw this kind of new school subject, my way to approach is the following. Big or thin dynamic lines for main drawing, and big or thin dynamic lines but different color or midtone values of gray for another subject or for the secondary element. To make sure my customer can manage a long session, I don't trace immediately all the tattoo or step back to side to the areas I already tattooed, because the skin then will be sore and affect the endurance of the customer, because he will feel pain. If the endurance of the customer is long, then you can work easily and quietly on the tattoo instead of making a lot of breaks. This tattoo is divided in 3 sessions of 5 or 6 hours each. I was lucky because the client sat like a rock for long, and I wanted to have a good result, and a good color saturation requires time. Once I was so focused on finishing all the tattoo as fast as I could, but it is not a competition where I get a sort of prize, so I choose to take my time and saturate in a proper way, then the finished result will be really good. Otherwise, if you do it too fast, maybe you can have holes or lack of colors. That is not a good saturation. To place the color under the skin, I use Magnum from 9 soft edge Magnum to 13 or 15 Magnum. And sometimes for black and gray I also use a 23 Magnum. I I can suggest you to pick the right dimension of needles, I mean the diameter of single needle. 0.35 is a good size, and I feel really good with instead 0.30 for gray wash because the result appear soft. Instead, because of the density of the color pigment in a 0.35 diameter, the colors flow more fluid and better because the space between each needle is larger. So if it happened to you once to have problem with filling the skin with colors, this might be one of the possible reasons. Actually, this is just a way and my personal way to work, but it doesn't mean it is the right method. But it could be a starting point for you. I traced the drawing using a 7-liner now, and in the areas where we have shadows like the nose, I tattoo doing a sort of cross-hatching with a pale and mid-tone red color. If I use a darker line in the next session, then I can have problems to cover it with a light or delicate color. For this session, I decided to sign slightly the mask and focus more on the flower. Sometimes my projects are composed by big elements, and there is always a main subject and a secondary subject. So I color first the secondary element because once the skin is open, I might risk to ruin the skin already open with another color and contaminate the brightness, and then have a dull effect on pure colors. For me, it takes time to make a good saturation, so I like to dedicate the right time for me to give to my customer a good result. After different quick color study, I decided to use red and green colors. Then I picked also the analogous colors on the color wheel and different values. The mask is red, so I use for the background a sort of mud green color, because these two colors are actually complementary, red and green. For a quick color study, I use gouache. It is a fast medium because it dries fast, and the color mix is similar to the way I mix ink when I tattoo. This is important to do color study, then at the moment of the tattoo, you can be more focused on what happened on the skin, instead of still thinking what color to use by inventing at the moment. Remember to use the right magnum needle. If you pick a too small size magnum needle, it requires more time, and if at a certain point you have a loss of patience, you can leave some holes. Instead, using a too big needle, if you don't give to the machine the right power, maybe then the needle will just bounce on skin and not pierce in the right way. My first session, and when I finish the flower and I have just signed my Hannya mask and some hair.